Hello and welcome. This is the fourth episode of a talk series I'm doing. Last episode we talked a little bit about film, some specific filmmakers and some of their films. That was fun, huh? And I figured for this episode, the film, the writing, that's kind of a that's kind of a playground for my right brain. That's where I get a lot of my creativity. I pour my creativity into that stuff. But this episode, I figured we'd talk a little about the playground of the uh, left side of my brain, which is the logical, analytical side. The right side is the creative side. That's talking in terms of a brain. Um, all right. What was I going to go? Right. So the logical, analytical side of me, uh, I like philosophy a lot. I like uh, analyzing concepts and ideas, um, whether they be really specific or complicated concepts or very general, universal, uh, um, almost timeless concepts. We're going to be focusing more on those, just a few of them. Uh, so let's get right into it. So you guys have heard me talk about authenticity, if you know me, quite a bit throughout my time. One thing that another concept that uh, works well with authenticity. Well, this is a tip or it's a technique, concept, what have you. Uh, Considering the authenticity and what is known as the golden rule, which has, it's got its origins from what I know from religious text. The man himself. But it's interesting because now the golden rule, uh, it's stated very simply so that even a child could understand it. Treat people around you the way that you like to be treated, sort of thing. Which I think it works best as a general guideline for kind of energetic interactions. When you try to take a fine-tooth comb to it, it you can make it sound absurd. Like you have to start if you start I if you start subjecting it to specific examples, detailed examples, obviously just like everything, um, it kind of it fails to make sense. For example, it has to do with the consciousness of of the other, the consciousness of the subject uh, of the golden rule in any given case. For example, I could walk into a room and see a chair and go sit on that chair. but I don't think, oh gee, should I have sat on that chair, because I wouldn't want the chair to sit on me, right? So you can always do this sophistry, um, with it, with mostly with anything almost. That's why it really works uh, best as a very powerful but general guideline in navigating kind of energetic or just social interactions. You know, it's kind of, you send out the energy that you like to receive. You know, and with that, it takes a lot of the confusion out, and it simplifies it even more. Um, and you know, of course, it is interesting to take it into specific examples where applicable, because you know, if you like that kind of stuff, it can lead to some interesting thought experiments and the like. For example, uh, let's say somebody does something to you. I don't know. Maybe this is somebody at your workplace or something, uh, uh, jealous, or uh, for whatever reason. I mean, I just use that example because that has happened to me in my long past. Um, but then you're in a situation where you go, oh, well, now hold on, wait a second. So this person, let's just say they gossiped about you or spread some bullshit, and then you go, oh well, now I wouldn't do that to somebody else. And so what does the golden rule say in response uh, to an action done on you that you almost in any situation would never have done to anyone else? So now it puts you in this odd position, trying to put yourself in the shoes of someone who's done you wrong in your past, or whatever, and you have to say, oh, well, if I was that person, if I did that to somebody else, then what, you know, then what would be an acceptable response in my mind for them to respond to an act such as that? And then it gets difficult, because then you have to go, oh well, it's hard to think about uh, what kind of energy that you'd want to get back when you consider an action that you would have never done in the first place. Um, and then you know, you can go deeper and deeper with that thought experiment. But if you're just trying to figure out something that works quickly, you can just simplify it again back to, it's tough. You know, it's like I said, I think it's meant to be taken very generally, and for me, it just makes the most sense in terms of energy, emotion. You know, just that things that you send out in the world. Um, yeah. Oh, and authenticity. The way it works with authenticity is because it's nice when you look at authenticity, and you're trying to figure out, like, if you look at it seriously, the concept and what the implications are of prioritizing authenticity in an individual or a community or something, you have to realize that if you place a little bit more value on just personal authenticity, and you know, allowing people to speak the way they speak, and be interested in the things they're interested in, dress the way they dress, then you have to make room, um, that there's there's a little bit more volatility, just in terms of difference of personality. When people are more, they're at least a little bit more free to be themselves, and they don't feel like they have to fit all these molds all the time. Uh, then people have to get, um, they just have to become a little better at uh, kind of embracing that variety of personality in a given society. In other words, kind of, if you appreciate your freedom to kind of do all those things, dress, talk the way you talk, then even if you don't, certain ways people dress or whatever, I mean, then you could just say, well, it doesn't really affect me, and there you go. Um, and so that's why I think those two concepts work really good with each other, because and I don't know why this came into my mind this morning. I think it was because oh yeah, I was watching a podcast or something, and well, it's interesting. Sometimes I get the feeling that people would prefer uh, myself or others or just people in general to fit these molds. Like, you think of corporatism, with these everybody always worried about sounding professional, using email language, and all sounding similar, like they are manifestations of a function, uh, whatever their position is in the corporate uh, landscape. And I've never really liked that. I felt like, when back when I worked in an office a long time ago, before I was in filmmaking, I thought one of the most boring parts, aspect of that sort of existence, is it's like you're already doing stuff that's kind of, and I'm like, if we're all there, and we're doing whatever function that this company needs, or the position states, well then, what's the harm in people just acting a little bit more of themselves? Obviously, you're like, oh, so does that mean somebody could strip down naked and run around screaming around the office because that's authentic? Like, no, that's not authenticity, all right? Do you feel the need to do that in any given moment? Do you think most people do? All right, so stop using the straw man example against the concept of authenticity. All these examples about the drawbacks of incorporating more authenticity or encouraging it in society is, it's like, oh, well then people would do all this crazy stuff. It's like, no, they wouldn't. Do you feel the need to do crazy stuff all the time in your life? Do you feel like if you had permission to, you would run up and down the streets knocking people's hats off and slapping their bags down out of their hand? Like, no, unless you're like a 13-year-old kid, uh, nobody really has the desire to do that stuff on any kind of regular basis. So it's like, yeah, no, that's not what it's saying at all. It's saying the quality of people's lives and their experience um, is better by some degree when they have a little bit more freedom to to be and speak and dress in the way And that's not to say like everything has to be like that. Like, oh, get rid of all professionalism. No suits. No, like, no, that's ridiculous. It's, there are certain uh, there are certain uh, customs and structures and norms where, of course, all that corporatism, professionalism is, at least it's ingrained enough to where it makes sense, and this is what people are used to. But in a vast majority of situations where that stuff is not really necessary, um, we don't see why there's such an emphasis on becoming what is, it's maybe it's a little bit negative to frame it this way, but becoming a cardboard cutout of yourself. Um, and I don't know. That's just, this is my personal. This is the way that I have looked at things and have found it to work for me.
I saw an interesting social media post the other day. It talked about the ghost of your former self. That had a nice alliteration to it. It's like, well, what do they mean by that? Ghost of the former self. I mean, it almost sounds like I don't know, like it's somehow perhaps connected to nostalgia. Nostalgia, people can live in their memories and constantly be uh, digging into their history to try to find parts of their identity. Um, that's never been me, really. I don't necessarily believe in an identity other than the one that you make him, the one that you consider yourself or make for yourself. But in terms of identity, I mean, you think about the things that that are part of what an identity is commonly considered, and you think about things like profession, personality type. I feel like these things are all fluid. I mean, it's not that for everyone. I mean, but many people have lots of different jobs and they do different things. Some of them are artists and they also do they're engineers. I mean,
I just want to jump in here with a quick addition or correction. Uh, Here I'm talking about internal identity, okay? Or we all have a physical or an external identity that our body, our race, our height, eye color, yada yada yada. But here I am talking about that, how you consider yourself as an entity, as a being in the world. That internal sense of self is what I'm talking about here.
so we see in many ways that both authenticity and the golden rule and so many other things, they are easier to understand when they're taken more generally. In other words, you can definitely apply it to specific scenarios, like your car breaks down on the highway, and somebody pulls over. I don't know who has some equipment or a gas can or whatever. It helps you out, and you're like, oh yeah, all right. And so the next time you're in the position of the guy that helped you,
You try to do the same if you can.
right? So that's just a specific. Uh, that's when you take specific examples that make sense for it. You're not purposely trying to uh, say something bad faith arguments, say something absurd. If you look, if you're trying to really dig into that concept, it's interesting in both the specific and the general. But the general is really interesting because when it's general, you have to you have to first identify the larger principle in whatever specific example you're using, and then you can just use that general principle, and it applies to a lot more things. For example, like let's say you grew up in a small town in the Midwest or something, and I don't know, there were only a few companies around, and none of them were really anything that had to do with your natural given talents, like I don't know, a steel mill, an auto manufacturer, that industrial kind of stuff. And there's somebody who, I don't know, they got into that at a young age or whatever, and they took to it, and then they've been there for 10 years. Maybe they hear about somebody who's a painter who doesn't necessarily want to work there. He wants to make a career out of his painting, and this guy says, "Oh well, I did it. I worked at I work at the steel mill and I love it." It's like, well, okay, you do love it, so why would you ask somebody else with a totally different skill set and natural given talents to do it as well? So if you're applying the golden rule, you have to realize it's not just specifics to what you like. You have to understand that, oh, this person actually enjoyed his work at the steel mill, and he found he was good at it or something. And so then, in my mind, the proper way to use the golden rule, through the lens of the golden rule, you'd say, well, I had the choice to work at the steel mill, or keep my eyes open for other opportunities that were, if I wanted to do something. I don't know what do you want. Maybe he's a baseball player. He wants to be a baseball coach or something. But you say, oh wow. So I was given the opportunities and the resources to kind of find something that accentuates my natural talents, and therefore it only makes sense that other people should have that too, whatever their natural talents are. And I think for stuff like that, it makes a lot more sense. I mean, you can't just say, "Oh, I like wearing an orange windbreaker, and therefore I think it's all right if everyone else wears an orange windbreaker because that's following the golden rule." It's like, no, you chose the color orange because you had the freedom to choose the color orange, and therefore you would give other people to choose blue or green or purple or whatever kind of windbreaker they want. Now, that's a weird example, but it's the first thing that came to my mind. Just illustrating the principle that if you go too specific, then it's not making sense. You're just reverberating your own preferences, right? So that it's interesting, right? If you look at it, and you're into that kind of stuff, deconstruction and analysis, there's a lot of interesting stuff that you can think about for the most simple concepts and principles, because simple it also is equivalent to universe. More simple is more universal. In all, I would think in all cases almost. I mean, it's just by definition. Simple is more universal. Specific is more defined. Extra categories, that kind of thing. So that's interesting. Now we're going to talk about, when talking about these concepts such as reciprocation and authenticity, there's another important aspect or key, the concept of intention. So intention is a large part of both the golden rule and authenticity. Okay, so the intention is, now if you think about how what that what a rule like that would be based on. It's about wanting to send out an energy that you like, the different kinds of energies that you like to get back from the outside world, and and intention in that sense is much more important than the end result of however that interaction goes. And I'm sure many of you guys have experienced this before. Let's say you're having a conversation with an acquaintance or a friend or just someone, and you try to make a joke or pay them a compliment in order to maybe lighten their day a little bit or just lighten the mood, and they take it as an insult or something, and then it's like, well, who's in the wrong? And some people will say, oh well, they took it as an insult, and so just by that, the person who said should get on their knees and apologize and stuff. But that see now, like I said, with these rules, I mean these concepts, they they get a little hairy when you start dissecting them. They're much better off just understood as simple general concepts that increase your quality of life and experience. But since this is a talk series, what else are we? We might as well take a little delve into this and intention. And so, if your intention was to bring light in the energy and bring a good mood to this person you're talking to, then in my mind, like, yeah, if you want to be very accommodating, then yeah, and you just want the interaction to go smoothly, you can apologize, even though authentically you know that you were just trying to lighten this person's mood. And so that's kind of what intention is. Now, if you look at it, it makes sense on the other end, on the other side of the coin as well. So let's say you're some guy working at some company, a film production company or whatever else, and let's say it's the same guy. I don't know, the middle manager that we talked about. Let's say that he sees he's petty and he doesn't like this other person in the company, that he threatens his authority or his competence in some way, and he decides, oh, here, let me try to figure out a way to let me try to figure out a way to take this guy down a peg, or even see if we can't push him out of the whole company. And maybe he does this in ways that are very subtle, hidden, and he has maybe a little a smaller group of the total employees that kind of follow his cues. and so it would seem on the surface that there's not really much there. But if you were to look into his mind and his scheming, you would see that his intention was to take away something that meant a great deal to someone, just because, just for his own ego, uh, and that's the opposite thing. That's where the intention is quite awful. I mean, it's you're trying to take away something that brings happiness, whether it's a person or a position, or I don't know, even an item with sentimental value. So the intention is actually quite nasty. I mean, it's pretty nasty to like say, "Oh, here, I don't like this person. Let me let me see if I can cause them pain. Let me see if I can take away their happiness." And so now that intention is far worse than whatever, little, I don't know, a constant passive aggressive attitude, or this or that, all the little things that people try to do to kind of wear others down, or get a reaction out of them. And so the actual behaviors and actions, they seem, oh, like that's kind of shady. Yeah, that's kind of nasty, but it's not that bad. It's not like he took a crowbar to anyone or anything. But if we could see the intention underneath, and we could feel it somehow, feel that intention of wanting to do that, just because, I don't know, you're threatened, or they rub you the wrong way, you don't agree with their this or that opinions, like that intention is pretty nasty and gross, and it's far worse, right, than the actions, than the actions themselves. So that's kind of the opposite end of the coin of having a good intention with something, and then maybe it falling the wrong way or falling flat on, and the flip side of having a really nasty intention, but it through its diffusion, of diffusion over a group of people who are all working in that same uh, in that same sphere, then the intention is far worse. And just, yeah, that's the basic idea. I know intention is quite a pretty huge concept and topic, both in, the spiritual community, legal community, just social. Like, intention is a huge and powerful concept. And now, so in this episode, I think this is a good one to introduce another one of my another one of the concepts that I think about occasionally, which I have so dubbed middle manager syndrome. And if you are a middle manager, take no offense. This is it's yeah, I mean, if I was going to title it more accurately, I would call it a bad middle manager syndrome, or a one who doesn't know what he's doing, really. But this happens both on small and large scales, in both businesses, governments, social organizations, or networks. But basically, what happens here, or what may happen, that everyone should be wary of, or at least cognizant of, is the middle manager syndrome. And the syndrome is when you have somebody who has some kind of authority over a process or a team or a company in at some level on the ladder, and what happens is some kind of issue is presented or artificially induced, let's be honest, and so probably let's just do an example that might make it a bit easier to understand. Let's say there's some kind of company, any kind of company, whatever, the film production. Let's just say a film production company, and during a work day or a shoot, there's a break, and employees have lunch or drink or whatever, and one day an employee accidentally spills a can of root beer on the ground, and then the middle manager, wanting to seem efficient and productive, will come in and just try to think of the first thing in his head that would solve the problem, and so he says, "All right, no liquids, no liquids in the facility or something." He's like, "All right, well that solves the problem of this one guy who spilt a soda one time." But then he has lessened or he has reduced the quality of the experience of a workday for everyone else, because he wanted not to for people to spill soda. So if and what's the point here? The point is, if you are in a position of that type, and you're in charge of some kind of process or team or etc., you really should consider all the major factors, including, what is the issue that happened, how regularly does it happen, how bad is it if it would happen again, how bad is it if somebody would spill a soda on the ground again, geez, the horror, and you have to consider the experience of everybody participating in that thing, or what in the whatever the production company is doing. You have lessened, reduced the quality of their day to try to seem and it happens in workplaces a lot, with the bottom line just being like, you do not take into account how things affect the people who are giving so much of their time and effort to whatever goal that team is doing, what that company is doing, and this, of course, happens in manufacturing facilities, restaurants, anything that you can imagine. For people in positions like that, it would really behoove them, and it would be a benefit to society if they could learn to understand and incorporate the quality of the experience for the people who work there, as well as the bottom line of the company, right? The profits, that kind of thing. And guess what? It's not just the courteous, or it's not just the wise thing to do to take all that into account. It is also, in my mind, beneficial for companies who have that in their kind of company culture. The idea that you consider the larger picture of quality of experience for employees and all that thing. When employees are or members of a company are happier to be working on something or a goal, they do better. I mean, they're more creative, they're more open. It's less fear based, and the company does better. So yeah, it's just something to watch out for if you, I don't know, if you own a business or if you work with a team or something. Just watch out for that thing where it's like, oh, this happened. Like, oh, there was a car accident, on the highway. Okay, well, let's just reduce the speed limit to 5 miles an hour across the country, everywhere. It's like, no, no. You consider everything. You consider the best holistic course of action is in cases like that. Now let's take a second to talk about authenticity again, and in this context scenario, what besides just that general feeling of of you know, I think people are just a little more. They experience a better quality of life when they're able to be a little bit more authentic. Not authentic. That's not a. That's some kind of combo word there. But when people are, so when people are able to be a little bit more authentic about their interests and their humor, their personality, their outward self, all that. There's an added benefit, which is more than just about bells and whistles. It's quite valuable. Is the idea that people moving around in the world, from their job to what they do after work, and meeting new people, whatever. Now, I'm all for equanimity in general, but yeah, equanimity, basically, treating everybody with a level of respect and courtesy and all that. But we can say, it's important to be able to get along with people that maybe have a different background than you, and you can do that with a little effort. But it's also important in life, at least for some, to kind of find those people in the world that you feel some kind of special connection to, or you just it's easier to find people that you kind of like to be around a lot when people are a little more authentic, right? It just makes sense, right? If people are more authentic outwardly, then there's less guesswork about what the energy, what their internal energy is like. And that's not to say this energy is better than that energy. This type of humor is better than that type of humor. I mean, it's all variety, and I think with more authenticity and yeah, possibly interaction. I think it's easier to find those people, and that's not to say that you should just find a little clique and shut yourselves away from the world. That's not what I'm saying at all. But it is, I think it is a boon to have at least some of those people, or one, in your life, and yeah, you still interact with everybody. You try to be equanimous, but yeah, again, it's nice to have both of that. The general interactions with the community and maybe the group of people that you interact with more often that you enjoy their energy or being around.
So before this episode goes up, I guess just a few things to clarify or revisit upon the idea of equanimity and authenticity. Uh, some people might think those things are a little bit conflicted against each other, and so uh, where's the line on like how how much back and forth, or playful ribbing, or even straight up insults is normal in interaction. I mean, I consider that all an authenticity. Like on social media and stuff. Um, I don't seek them out, but I think the little back and forth, the little arguments that happen, they contribute to the tapestry. I mean, it's just it's just a website, and they're just words. So it is, a lot of it just comes down to common sense. Common sense, golden rule, authenticity. Um, you basically you treat people generally kind of with the energies that you like. If you like that authentic, the blunt, maybe a colorful personality type, great. You know, or if you're more of maybe you're an older conservative, and you prefer kind of a more traditional social roles and stuff, then great. There's plenty of people like that out there. Yeah, so it's I don't think a lot of this is meant to be taken so uh, you know so hmm. It's just you use in terms of social navigating the social sphere realm. All this stuff is useful. A lot of it's a lot really useful. Um, but it really comes down to just use your own intuition, use your own judgment, and the other thing about authenticity and the golden rule, just before we close it out, this might be obvious, but when you're around people, whatever kind of interaction it might be, social, business, etc., when you act more authentic, you'll notice this if you try it. A lot of times, it has the effect that the person you're talking to becomes more uh, authentically their self. Um, so if that's a quality that you appreciate in people, and I don't really get people who don't appreciate that quality. They're like, oh, let's see, everybody has all this variety and creativity and different aspects of themselves, but I don't want to see. I just want them to act very like they're following a script, and I they don't want to know any of uh, the interesting differences between this person and that, or all that. So that's never made sense to me, because I've always appreciated people who speak or just have kind of an authentic energy, and I think that's a lot of people. So it's and for those who maybe they I don't know, spend a lot of time in environments where that kind of stuff is just it's just not really valued like corporatism, or maybe you're in the military or something. I mean, there are certain forms of authenticity that they probably yeah, and never mind. Anyways, um, yeah, that's just to say I think this episode went well. Uh, Once again, it was a little bit. I think we covered some good stuff. You know, these episodes are kind of raw. You heard me talking about polish if you caught the last episode, and with what these are mainly about substance. Uh, Substance for me, and to you, um, if you like, and yeah. So, so thank you for listening, and enjoy the weekend.